gift ideas that you can get for the writer in your life. Because if you are like me, or you know someone like me who is a writer, there's obviously going to be things that they are going to want. So number one, I think that I would recommend for writers, 100% notebooks. I'm just going to say it. I know that like writing by hand is a dying art, and that I'm kind of one of the last people left who writes by hand and loves a brand new notebook and loves pens and pencils and all of this. Even amongst writers, like I talk to so many people who are like, yeah, I love writing. And I'm like, oh, talking about notebooks, and they're like, oh, you write by hand? And I'm like, yeah, diva, I write by hand. Like, I don't know. It's good for your memory. It's good for your mind. It's good for your brain. It's good for your soul. Like, it's just a good thing to do. So I am a huge fan of writing by hand. And I know that is not a popular opinion, but you know what? Don't care. I'm just gonna say it. More people need to be writing by hand. Not even just like writing stories. Outlining by hand can be a really fun exercise to like explore the story in a different way. It's almost like, I don't know how to describe it. It almost feels like you're feeling the story like through your hand. Like you're feeling it come alive. And sometimes like my brain really works better if I'm writing by hand. Obviously, I write a ton of things on the computer. Like sometimes it's just easier, it's faster. There's a lot of reasons why I enjoy writing on the computer as much as anyone else. But I will say there is something to be said for writing by hand. And even if it's just writing a simple list, writing your to-dos, I think writing like things you want to accomplish, things you want to get done, goals, life plans, 2025, yearly plans, monthly to-dos, just all kinds of things. Just writing by hand to me is just, I think it's so important, and I think it's a dying art. So my recommendation is thus: getting notebooks that are not expensive. What I mean by that is, if you're not like me, who is buying notebooks at, back to school sales when they're like 50 cents and I'm piling in like 20 at a time, I also recommend if you go to the dollar store, they have these notebooks that are, I don't know why, they're just my favorite. These Jot steno books, okay? The steno books by Jot are really fun. I also like, at the dollar store, Jot has a 3-subject version of these Jot notebooks that are like the regular spiral bound, not like steno. I really, really enjoy those. I love this like smaller size. Obviously for me, being able to keep something in my purse is really convenient, or like a backpack, just something kind of small. If you're someone who still works in an office and you're able to like jot things down that you maybe don't want to write down on your phone, you just want to write them down like on paper like this, I think having a like smaller notebook, steno, just this kind of, what is this considered? 6x9 is the size. 6x9 is such a great size to stick in your purse, stick in a backpack. You can have it on your desk. When I used to work in an office, we used to actually get these for like any kind of work. And they actually, I don't know if this one does. Oh yeah, it does. So it's got like separations right here. The amount of notebooks that I filled up with writing, just writing down one side, writing down the other side, flipping it over, writing down one side, writing down the other side. Steno notebooks and just like these kind of small 6x9 notebooks. Mwah, so good. I love these. 10 out of 10. I always recommend these for people. If you are a writer, if you know a writer and you want to write anything by hand, or you're like considering getting into writing by hand, it's so easy to be like, oh, I want to get like a journal. And then you're like, well, this journal's too nice. I don't want to write whatever in this. I recommend these little dollar store ones. Yeah, they get a little crunchy, but they kind of can take a beating. I mean, this one's a little crunchy at the bottom, but it's taken a beating, and a lot of these do. So like, keeping it in and out of your purse, I think you'll be fine. The only thing that you're going to have to deal with is reading your own handwriting. If you are writing anything that you're gonna have to type up later, so like if you write a scene or a chapter, as I often do, or if I'm writing, you know, an outline, I am eventually going to have to put that on the computer. And let me tell you, trying to read my own handwriting sometimes can be very, very difficult. I don't really have a suggestion for that. A lot of the apps that are supposed to be able to read your writing and translate that don't work for me, because I have this like mix of cursive and print as my handwriting, and so it makes it just very difficult for anything to know what the fuck I'm saying. Plus, I also do like a shorthand, so like not official shorthand, but like my shorthand. So like certain names and words, I use initials. I haven't, you know, written the word "and" in like, I don't know, 20 years, because I just do a little plus sign. If I'm writing the word "with," I'm writing W/, you know, little things like that, that it makes it easier to get things onto the page, especially when, I don't know why, I do feel like I type faster than I can handwrite a lot of times. And a lot of times when you're like in that zone, you're just like trying to keep up with your brain, and that can be very, very difficult. To this end, I don't know what this pen is actually. That is so weird. I've never seen this before in my life. To that end, of course, with these, I always recommend pens. Pens are a little bit tricky because if you're anything like me, I'm kind of a pen snob. I have like pens that I really, really like and pens that I will not touch. I really enjoy the Papermate Inkjoy gel pens. They're a little bit finicky. They're a little bit of a pain in the ass because they get air bubbles a lot, and like then you're writing and it just goes blank. They run out of ink like that. You know, gel pens, what's nice about them is that they're very smooth. What's a problem about them is that they run out of ink so fast, or they get an air bubble and they're impossible to get out. The pros and cons are like really depending on who you are, and they can be very expensive. So like, I also do just love Bic Crystal. I used to really love the Bic round stick, but they changed those and I don't like them anymore. I've had a beef with the Bic round stick since I was like 14, and they changed it from the white barrel, where it was like white and then the tip was like black and gold, and then the black cap. That was like peak design to me. When they did this like matte black everything bullshit, I don't fuck with those. I don't know why. I've had a beef with it forever. I will literally go out of my way to like find the original version on like any website that I can that still somehow has packs of the original version. And as soon as people run out officially, I'm gonna be devastated, because I do not like the like see-through black design of them now. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's something that like I fell in love with it as a child and I refuse to indulge anything else. I don't know. I've used them. They're the exact same. Like there's nothing that's different about the pen. But like in my mind, I just feel like the Bic round stick with the white barrel and the black cap and the black tip, it's just a classic, and I like what I like. I don't like when they change things, especially there was no reason to change it. But anyway, that's a whole other tangent. So that is my preferred pen. Sometimes for me, if I feel like I'm having writer's block, sometimes the only thing that will help me is writing by hand. Or if I've been writing by hand, writing on the computer. But like going back and forth, I think just stimulates my brain, because it's a different part of your brain that works when you're handwriting versus when you're typing. I don't know what it is. I don't know how to explain it. Other than that, I just think it's a different part of my brain that's working, and therefore a different part of my brain that's activated when I'm writing by hand versus typing. And I think there is some proof to that idea. Like that's not just me making that up. I think there is actually legitimate like scientific proof to the idea that there is a difference in your brain when you're writing by hand versus typing on the computer. Not that it's a bad thing. I'm not here to be like some kind of nihilist who's like, nah, computers are bad. I love computers, obviously. I adore computers, and I have for years. I love keyboards. I got into the fancy modding keyboard. Like, let me not pretend like I don't enjoy computers and keyboards and all of that, because obviously I do, obviously. But, you know, there is something to be said about writing by hand. And as someone who's been going through a little bit of a mental, not fog, as someone who's been going through a bit of a, well, now I'm forgetting, as someone who has been going through a bit of a writer's block, there is something to be said about a new notebook. And like, if you're a writer who likes those things, I think a new notebook is always welcome. I don't care how many new ones I have, a new notebook is always welcome. I like hoard them like a dragon. And, you know, I don't buy expensive ones, I just buy cheap ones. I'm also a huge, huge, huge fan. If you are going to use any kind of computer, I know a lot of people write on like Google Docs. I don't recommend that shit because it's only a matter of time before Google's like, hey, anything you write on there, we own and we can use at any time for whatever the fuck we want. Like, it's only a matter of time before they do that shit, right? Maybe they are quietly doing that already. We know Microsoft Word is like scraping your text documents to train its co-pilot. Why? I don't know, but like that's a whole other thing. So like, those are flops. Sometimes I will use Pages on my MacBook because it came with it. But to be honest with you, the writing app that has really changed my life and changed my writing and changed my brain so fundamentally since I found it like over a decade ago. I think I have literally used this app since 2008. I think consistently I have used this app since 2008. And that is Scrivener. And if you were any kind of writer or know any kind of writer, you've probably heard of the Scrivener app. It used to be exclusively for Mac, but now it's for Mac and Windows. I obviously have the Mac version. There is something about Scrivener that has just changed my life. I could really go on a whole video tangent just talking about why I love Scrivener. I don't know if that would be interesting to anyone, but I literally could because it's such a good app. And one of my favorite features on it that I've been using a lot lately when I'm writing is like either dual pane view or like a triple pane view. And what I mean by that is you can have one document on this side and then either two documents on top of each other, or you can have one document that's on this side. So it's kind of like a split screen. And it's all in like one app. So it's not like you're opening 12 documents at once. There is just something that has really, really made my life so much easier when I can have, you know, an outline on this side of the screen and then my main writing document. So I know what I'm writing for this chapter. I know what I'm writing for this scene. I know like everything that I'm putting into this. It's just so good. It's just so like, again, it's a chef's kiss. There's something about it that is so beautiful and wonderful to me. It does cost, you know, it's, I think, $50, but it's a one-time fee. It's not a subscription. I think it is so worth every single penny. And it's so rare these days, too, to find an app that's not a subscription. Like, even Microsoft Office is, like, a subscription now. Like, you can get the Microsoft 365. So, like, having something that is, like, tangibly yours and they give you upgrades quite a bit, like, I mean, they really have treated me so well in the years that I have had Scrivener. Like, I cannot tell you, it is worth every single penny that I have ever paid for it. I think I bought 2 and then I bought 3, or maybe I just bought 3. I think I bought the iPad version, which I almost never use because writing on my iPad, if you don't have an external keyboard, like an actual Bluetooth keyboard, is just a nightmare and I don't recommend it. You know what's something, well, I don't know if you can get this for other people. I was gonna say something you can get a writer in your life if they don't have it already would be a library card, but I don't think you can get that for someone else. So I'm gonna not say that, although I think getting a library card is on my to-do list this year. I haven't had one in years and I miss it. I don't know why I haven't had one. I used to love going to the library. When I was in college the first time, we were actually really like within walking distance to a library. So sometimes, like, if I got out of class early and I had to wait, you know, a couple hours for my mom to get off work or whatever, I would just walk to the library and like, it was such a good time. I highly recommend it. Libraries are great. I miss them so much. I I want to make an effort to support my local library, and I know that sounds so corny, but like I really want to make an effort. We voted at the local library, so it was so nice to like get to know the library people. They were so sweet, and just that whole experience was really fun, and that made me really say I want to get a library card again because I loved the experience. It's a gorgeous library. So like obviously that's not really a gift you can get someone, but it is a good idea to remind someone. Donate to the library in their name. That's something that you could do for them. That'd be really cool. I really want, I can't recommend this as like a gift because it's so expensive, but I like not so secretly really want like those remarkable notebooks where it's like, it's a digital notebook that you could write in, but it's actually, and it feels like paper, but it's like digital, so it will copy them to your computer. Supposedly they will transcribe them. I don't know how much I believe that it would work for my handwriting, but hey, it would be fun. I love the idea of like having a notebook that I don't have to, like I don't have to constantly buy a new notebook. Like you really have a notebook forever when you buy one of those, but I think they're like $300-400, and it's just like, yeah, it's like the price of an iPad, but I just don't know, I can't really justify it right now. Another gift that I think you can get that's always good is like a gift card to a bookstore. I think anybody who is a writer is first a lover of books, so you probably love reading. You probably always want new books. If you're someone who has like more of a digital collection, then obviously ebooks is really great. But if you're someone who likes physical books like I do, I kind of like them both. My ideal scenario would be to have a physical copy of a book and then an ebook at the same time. But I think having to pay for both is kind of ridiculous. Like I feel like you should just get, like if you buy a physical copy, you should get a copy of the ebook as well. They used to do that with, I don't know if you all remember this, it was very short-lived, with Blu-rays for a little bit there. They used to do a digital copy that you could get. You could get like a physical Blu-ray, and then you could get the digital copy of that same film, which I thought was so brilliant. Because like, why would you spend money for both? You know what I mean? Sometimes you want the digital version and sometimes you want a physical copy. And I will tell you, as someone who's been getting into physical media recently, there are some pains in the ass about physical media that I forgot about. Red pens, especially if you're editing. Printer ink. Oh my god, printer ink and printer paper. If you are still, and I guess it depends, but if you're editing any kind of writing like me, I like to like have a physical copy of the thing that I'm editing and a red pen, and I like to just go to fucking town on that thing, and being able to see it all and read it physically, just, I don't know, it does something. Again, it's the physicality of it, just like writing by hand. There's something about it that just, for my brain, works, and I don't always like it. Like a lot of times I'll print shit out and then I'm like, oh god, what am I gonna do with this? But I will say, printer ink is like a scam, and printer paper, it's fine, that doesn't cost that much, but like printer ink is like a nightmare. But I do recommend, if you want to get a writer anything and they like to print stuff out, like physical copies of their book, you know, give them some ink. That's always a good thing. Or, you know what, if you're feeling brave, I love to get a copy of, like when I finish a book, sometimes the best way to edit it is to like either go down to Staples and have a copy printed out, or you can do like CreateSpace or Lulu or whatever, just something that like prints it on demand, so you can have like a bound copy of your book and then edit it that way. That's also super fun. I'm sure that's not for everyone, but I really enjoy that. I think that's super fun. So, you know, I think as a writer, we all have different things that we enjoy. You know what I would also recommend? Any writer, have a separate hobby that's separate from writing. Because sometimes you need something that like keeps you creative, but that isn't writing, that you can like take your mind off of it. So like, I love graphic design, you know, I went to school for graphic design. That is something I enjoy doing as like a hobby that's separate from my writing. I also really enjoy knitting, so anything to do with knitting, it keeps my hands busy, but also like isn't just regular writing. So like, you know, little things like that. If you know that a writer in your life has a hobby that isn't just writing, like obviously support the writing, but also like support another hobby that isn't writing so that they can have some peace that isn't just writing. You know, just little things like that. Water. Always remember, that's a stupid thing. Coffee. I know, like, coffee and tea. A lot of writers, we live by coffee and tea. So highly recommend that as well. And I think that's kind of like the gist of it. If you know they have a favorite type of tea or a favorite type of coffee, obviously that's always a good gift. I always think something handmade. So like if you want to get like a cute little teacup and a cute little tea and like put them together and make your own little basket, like a little writer's basket, that would be so much fun. I would love something like that. Just like a little handmade gift that's like a little like writer's goodie basket. Like maybe it's got some chocolate, it's got some tea, it's got a teacup, it's got pens, notebooks. Maybe you're feeling emotional, it's got a little tissue, you know, just something that's like very thoughtful and fun and not typical. You know, I think the days of gifts that are like, you know, wrapped or put in a bag or whatever, no, get a little basket. That sounds so fun to me. Also picnics, that's unrelated, but I think picnics sound really fun. I want to get back into